Hi, my name is Erin, and I'm a librarian with the George Memorial Library. Today, with the assistance of my camera shy mother, we are going to show you how to sew a small bag that you can hang on your belt. The bag we are making is going to be just large enough for a cell phone, but yours can be any size you want. The supplies that you're going to need are a flexible measuring tape or a ruler and some string, fabric. We're using a plain cotton fabric here, but you can use anything you want, including repurposing old clothing. For our purposes, you are going to want to use something that isn't very stretchy. Pens, scissors, an iron, chalk or something to mark your fabric with, and a sewing machine or needle and thread. The first thing that we need to do is measure the phone with the case on all the way around, both horizontally and vertically, to get the circumference. If you don't have a flexible tape measure, you can wrap a piece of string around your phone, mark it off, and take the measurement of the string with a regular ruler to get your numbers. After you have your measurements, we're going to do a little simple math. For length, take your vertical circumference and add 4.5 inches. This gives us both a seam allowance and room for a flap. Our measurement is 12, so we get 16.5 inches. That's how long your fabric needs to be. For width, take your horizontal circumference and add 2 inches. Ours was 6, so we get 8. Now divide that by 2, which is 4, and that's how wide your fabric is going to be. Okay, so now you're going to cut out two 16.5 by 4 inch pieces of fabric. You're also going to need an 8 by 2 inch strip. This is eventually going to become your 2 belt loops. If you're planning on using a particularly wide belt, you might want to make this strip a little longer. The next step is to create the envelope flap for the bag. Take your 2 pieces of fabric and place them back to back with the right sides together. Fold both pieces of fabric in half and mark 2 inches down from the top along the open edge. Place your ruler or tape measure at the top of the other edge and measure down across to your mark, making a little triangle. Mark this with chalk and then cut along the chalk line. You will get 2 matching envelope flaps, which is going to be the front and back side of your bag. The next part that we're going to work on are the belt loops. You're going to take your smaller piece of fabric, fold it in half the long ways, and then iron it down. Then you're going to open it back up and fold it on either side of the center line and iron it down again on both sides. Then you're going to fold it back in half the long ways and iron the whole thing down. You should end up with a piece of fabric that's about 1/2 inch wide. From here, you're going to take your belt loop to the sewing machine, or hand sew it if that's what you're doing, and sew it all the way down the open edge. After it's sewn together, you're going to fold the strap in half and cut it so that you get 2 equal length pieces of fabric. These are your 2 belt loops. Now we're going to measure where we want our straps to be. Take one of the pieces of fabric you cut and lay it on the table. This is going to be the back of our bag. Then we're going to measure about 3 inches down from the bottom of the triangle flap and mark that with chalk. Do this on both sides. Then also on each side, we're going to mark in about 1 inch from the first mark and place another chalk mark. This is where we're going to put our straps. Take a pin and pin your straps to the location marked off, and then we're going to head back to the sewing machine. Once you're back at the sewing machine, you're going to sew each strap down carefully, getting as close to the edge as possible. Then you're going to flip the strap over and, using about a 1/4 inch seam allowance, sew it down. If you're using machine, make sure you pull out your pins before the needle hits them. Do the same thing on both straps, and then for the bottom of each loop, you're going to tuck the strap in about 1/4 inch and sew that down as well. For this next part, we're going to prepare to sew the 2 sides of the bag together. Place the 2 right sides of the fabric together and get out your ruler and chalk. Toward the bottom 1/3 of the bag, we're going to make 2 chalk lines about 2 inches apart. This is going to indicate the section of the bag that isn't going to be sewn together. The reason we're doing this is because we're going to end up flipping the bag inside out. After you've marked that section, go ahead and take your pins and pin the 2 pieces together, and then take it back to the sewing machine. Now we're going to sew the bag together. Starting at the bottom chalk line, you're going to sew all the way around the bag, creating about a 1/4 inch seam. When you get to the top of the second chalk line, you're going to stop, leaving that 2 inch gap. Next, we're going to snip the tip of each corner of the bag. This will help it lie more flat once we flip it over. Be careful not to snip the stitches. Next, we're going to carefully flip the bag right side out. Do this gently so that you don't break any stitches. Once you've flipped it, you're going to iron the whole thing down on both sides and then flip up the bottom of your bag to make a pouch. The top of the pouch should be approximately the same level as the loops on the back of the bag. Okay, the last step is to sew it all together. Starting at the bottom corner of the bag, make a 1/4 inch seam all around the entire bag, including the top flap. Be careful when you're turning corners. Snip off all of the stray pieces of thread, and then you're done. To use the bag, you're just going to loop a belt through the little belt loops on the back, and there you go. This kind of bag is especially useful if you don't want to carry a purse, but you don't necessarily have a dress with pockets or something like that. That's it.